The Obama and Sarkozy administrations are working together on a plan to convene an Israeli-Palestinian peace summit in Paris on September 2nd, shortly after the Libyan war is brought to a close. Debkafile's Washington and Paris exclusive sources disclose. If they can pull it off, Presidents Barack Obama and Nicolas Sarkozy will join Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas at a summit in the French capital to announce the restart of Israeli-Palestinian peace talks, thereby calling off the unilateral Palestinian request for UN recognition of an independent state. To clear the way for the Paris summit, Ross recently put before Netanyahu Obama's revised formula for the starting point of negotiations with the Palestinians. Israel would accept the 1967 borders with territorial swaps in exchange for Palestinian recognition of Israel as the national state of the Jewish people. Just this week, the Israeli Prime Minister said that if the Palestinians recognized Israel as the Jewish homeland, the other outstanding issues could be easily and quickly resolved. However, it is not clear whether the revised formula had won prior Palestinian approval before it was presented in Jerusalem or Washington, intended to later squeeze the concession out of Mahmoud Abbas and so drive a crack in the deadlock which has frozen the peace track for more than 7 months. At all events, Netanyahu's reply was qualified. He stated his acceptance was contingent upon negotiations starting with former President Bush's letter of April 2004 to then Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. This letter constituted a presidential commitment to support negotiations with the Palestinians based on UN Resolution 242, which promised Israel defensible borders, to refrain from demanding Israel's return to the 1949 lines, and to acknowledge the existence of major Jewish population centers on the West Bank as demographic changes occurring in the years since the Six-Day War. In Netanyahu's view, the Obama White House cannot simply ignore a presidential commitment given by his predecessor personally to an Israeli Prime Minister. Resolution 242, created following the 1967 Six-Day War, is a UN resolution that should be upheld like any other resolution. This is another example of the UN supporting only resolutions that are politically correct at the time. Something that should also be noted. The U.S. and Israel are working very hard to prevent the Palestinian Authority from moving forward with a September UN state recognition. I have to believe they feel this could become a dangerous reality in a few months. Just this week, in an appeal to donors, the PA announced they were in deep financial trouble. The U.S. offered to bail them out in exchange for dropping their bid for UN recognition. The UN Security Council plans to discuss in July the possibility of Palestine becoming a United Nations member state, the Security Council President said on Tuesday. The Arab League has said it would request UN membership for a Palestinian state in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, with East Jerusalem as its capital, at the UN General Assembly in September. An open debate on the Middle East has been scheduled for July 26, according to a provisional calendar for the Security Council for July. In other developments, Saudi Arabia has warned NATO of a nuclear arms race in the Gulf. A senior Saudi prince, belief sent by King Abdullah, has told NATO that Riyadh would not lag behind Iran in any nuclear weapons race. Prince Turki Al-Faisal told a NATO conference in June that an Iranian nuclear weapons buildup would prompt a similar effort by Saudi Arabia. Frankly, I would not rule out this being one of the reasons for the start of the world war described in Revelation chapter 6, where 1/4 of the world's population will perish. I look for the Antichrist to bring peace only to see it break out into war shortly thereafter in the breaking of the second seal judgment. This war will be more than just a regional skirmish, and will likely include one or more nations using nuclear weapons against another nation or nations at the start of the war. Other nuclear powers will likely respond in a preemptive strike, fearing they could be the next to be struck. Judging from the death toll, once this nuclear war begins, all possible enemies will be targeted in a destructive chain reaction of events that will leave the world on the brink of annihilation. This will give place for Satan to possess the Antichrist and become the savior man has always longed for. In the end, he will lead the world down the road to a horrible destruction, the likes of which the world has never known. This is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.